Today's exercise is how I made all the underlay for the layout. My layout is quite extensive, well, not as big as most I suppose, but it's 22 feet by 16 feet, and I noticed this concrete expansion joint material in the hardware store, so I thought I'd try and do something with that. It's pretty amazing stuff. It's very, very dense. First thing I did was start cutting it down into 33 1/3 pieces out of the 100 mil. That's ended up at 33.3 millimeters wide. And you can see I made this little jig. I'll talk about the jig at the end, how I made it and the function of each jig. Once I finished running the roll, I just bought one roll to give it a test to see how it goes. And as it turned out, that one roll did my whole layout. Quite amazing savings. And after cutting it into 3 lengths, here I'm cutting it into the second length, giving me 3 lengths, 25 meters long, or a total of 75 meters of track underlay at the moment. But there's another stage coming up that I will do. I'll make another jig. The 75 meters is quite a lot of track. And what I'm going to do next, like if you engage, it's 300 meters already. The spaghetti all over the floor was piling up absolutely everywhere once I ran it through the machine. This little bandsaw that I found at a garage sale, and it cost me $25. So it was a pretty good buy. I didn't know what I was going to use it for at first. Here I'm cutting down the 33.3 millimeter foam, still 10 millimeters thick, down into half. Now I cut a whole lot, as you'll see later, with a 45-degree angle on the edge, as in I split, instead of splitting this straight up and down, I split it on a 45-degree angle, which enabled me to do tighter curves around the track plan. And that little stick across the back is not there to hold it together. It's there to stop the riding, which it does ride. Now here I'm cutting down the 10 millimeter thick down to 4.5 millimeters wide. So I now have this particular piece is running at about 17 millimeters wide by 4 millimeters thick, as you can see there. And that is doubled up. It makes 33 millimeters about of underlay for doing curves. But when it came to straight underlay, I just kept the underlay going at 33.3 millimeters wide, because it was just straight, so there's no need to cut it like this. So we roll it all up, and I ended up with so many rolls, so much underlay, and the whole lot cost me $31 or something like that. And I ended up with 150 meters of underlay. That's the 2 pieces you can see there with the 45-degree angle on them. Very simple. I just put the tables of the bandsaw on a 45-degree angle and pushed it through as normal. And it split it in middle and put the 45-degree angle in the middle. This is the first jig that I used. I used this side here for splitting down the first piece out of the 100 millimeter. I divided it into 3 equal parts, and so that's the first jig. The second jig is this little one here on a piece of ply, and each of the 3 pieces I took off of 1/3 of the width of 100 millimeters in the rubber. I put this one on, and this guard here, piece here, is to stop the foam from riding high. And these 2 here are strategically placed. They start here with about 2 millimeters wider than the foam. When it gets down to here, this is exactly the width of the foam, and it means that I have to pull it through. But what that does is makes it exactly in the middle of the 1/3 of the foam, which then divides it into 6 pieces out of the the 100 millimeter wide. Once that happens, I then go to the this is not complicated, but it is the most complicated of these jigs. It's get it out from underneath. The bolts are here to bolt the jig down onto the T-tracks on the little bandsaw, and the little bandsaw is not an expensive one. I picked it up for $25 at a garage sale where people were leaving the country, going back to New Zealand or something, so I was able to buy that for $25, and it's really come in handy. So this around here is exactly the width of the foam, and it's tight, so you've got to pull it through. On the other end here, again, it's 2 millimeters wider than the foam, so it acts as a funnel. The foam goes through here and it gets tight. Now the reason it gets tight is because we need the blade to be in exactly the middle. So the blade's in the middle here, you push it through, it won't start off by itself. Once you get it through, you pull it through, and you can pull it through as fast as you like this, and that will ensure that the foam is cut down then into 2 more pieces from the original 10 millimeter. So it makes 2 pieces 4.5 millimeters by 1/6 of the width of 100 millimeters. I'll get my calculator out and work that exact size out and post it up onto the screen with this this jig. So that's all the jigs are, just 3. Now, when you want to put a 45-degree angle on the edge of the foam, when you're putting the ballast down, it doesn't really matter, I've found. So the first roll that I did cut a 45-degree angle on the edge of the underlay, but I worked out you don't really need that, because the ballast just kind of fills up the edge of it anyway, so that's not really a necessary trick. But this one here is. So they've all got the bolt holes, as you can see. They all bolt down to the T-track on the bandsaw, so they all register exactly in the right place. This one has the 4 bolts, and it bolts down and makes it very sturdy, so you can pull it through. The blade fits in here in this little crack in there, and you can pull that through as fast as you like. It doesn't make any difference. You probably noticed the bandsaw had plenty of black over it. Well, that's kind of like the rubber sawdust that kind of came off as I was filming. So that's what that was there for. It's usually nice and clean, but today it wasn't. So there you go. 3 jigs to make your own underlay, and you can make as much of you like. From the 125 millimeter 25 meter roll, I cut that into 3. Then I cut that 3 into 2, which made 6. So that's 6 times 25 meters of underlay that you get. And then, as you see or saw in the video, it's about $30-something for a 25 meter roll. Now it is high density expansion joint for concrete. So it's not a light foam at all. It's quite dense, and it certainly absorbs any locomotive sound or wagon sound going over the track. Now, I've been in many recording studios, and the music you can hear in the background is my music. And I have never been in a recording studio where there's cork on the wall. It's always foam rubber. And the reason is foam rubber absorbs the sound, and the cork kind of reflects it. It might deaden it a bit, but it reflects the sound. So my recommendation is, even though a lot of the experts disagree with me, which is okay, but I use foam rubber, and I make it myself. And we've been able to make a whole heap of it. What's 6 times 25 meters? That's about 300 meters. I think I'll have to work that out with my calculator. That's about 300 meters of underlay for about $30. So that works out to about $10 for 100 meters, which is pretty good going. Better than paying $5 or $6 for 5 meters of it. So make it yourself. It's easy. Now my jigs are not pretty. I deliberately do that to show that model railroading does not have to be expensive and complicated. These jigs are made out of old fence palings, nothing more. But I tell you what, they really work. The same as all my knife jigs, all made out of old fence palings and boards and things. So enjoy your hobby. You don't have to have all the best of everything on everything. Keep your money for your locomotives and your rolling stock. For jigs and things that you use once or twice a year maybe, you just need to use something that's solid, not necessarily brand spanking new ply. I say, happy model railroading.